Sean had a weapon tucked between his legs, ready to assassinate the president who was coming for an inspection. To avoid security checks, he had crafted a plastic gun well in advance. Despite its simple appearance, the gun was exceptionally powerful. However, while testing the gun outside, he was unexpectedly spotted by two hunters who loudly claimed it was their territory and mocked his toy gun on the spot.
You, wouldn't be interested in selling it, would you?
To assassinate the president.
Sean didn't say a word. He simply pulled the trigger and took them down. To smuggle the bullets into the venue, Sean had custom-made a keychain with a layer of feathers glued on the outside, making it completely inconspicuous. Unlike previous presidential assassins, Sean directly revealed his plan to a federal agent. At the time, the United States was in the midst of a presidential election, and the president had to visit 3 places to secure votes. The next day, Agent John hurriedly reported the previous night's situation to the bureau chief. However, the chief didn't take it seriously at all, as they had recently received numerous threatening letters against the president, most of which were pranks. He thought the assassin John mentioned was just joking and didn't need to be taken seriously. Surprisingly, Sean called the White House directly the following day, again asking for John by name and claiming he was going to assassinate the president. John's colleagues also overheard the conversation. John cleverly stalled for time while having his colleagues trace the call. They quickly located the address, right across the street in the park. John and his team rushed to the scene, only to find that Sean had already escaped. As he surveyed the surroundings, he spotted a homeless man standing on the side of the street observing their actions. John tried to chase after him but was blocked by passing vehicles. However, during his escape, Sean had collided with a car, leaving his fingerprints on it. John immediately retrieved the data for comparison, but the results showed that the man's identity was classified as a military secret, and John had no authority to access more information. The presidential campaign began as scheduled, with John, as a member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, constantly guarding the president. Although they visited 3 locations, the assassination Sean had mentioned never occurred, and John gradually let his guard down. Little did he know Sean was secretly watching, and the real action was just beginning. When the campaign moved to the next stop, it was moved indoors due to heavy rain. As the president was passionately delivering a speech on stage, Sean deliberately popped a balloon. The sound made John mistakenly believe it was a gunshot, and he urgently ordered his colleagues to protect the president on stage. In an instant, several security personnel rushed onto the stage, shielding the president beneath them, and the venue was thrown into chaos. Immediately after, Sean popped a second balloon, and John realized he had made a fatal error, mistaking the sound of bursting balloons for gunshots. Afterwards, his superiors severely reprimanded him. The bureau chief had warned John earlier that it was just a prank and not to take it seriously, but now it had turned into a laughingstock. The next day was the final crucial campaign event, and his superiors decided to transfer John to another department. But he didn't sit idle. Instead, he used the fingerprints to uncover Sean's true identity. It turned out that Sean was a former Special Forces soldier who had left the military after suffering injustice. Not only was he highly skilled, but he was also adept at disguise. John immediately assembled a technical team to simulate Sean's various appearances. At this point, Sean, in disguise, tucked the plastic gun into his pocket and strutted into the campaign venue. He first left his pen and keys outside, passed through security without issue, then turned around to retrieve the keys containing the bullets. Sean sat in a seat he had bought for $2 in advance. Before the president arrived, he deftly assembled the plastic gun under the table, removing the spring from the pen, placing it into the slot, loading the bullets from the keychain into the gun, and finally tightening the bolts. The president was currently shaking hands with supporters one by one, seeking votes for himself. Just as the president was about to approach Sean at the critical moment, John disregarded his superior's orders and rushed to the scene. After a thorough search, he spotted that familiar face in a nearby seat. Despite the altered appearance, John still recognized him. At the very instant Sean was about to pull the trigger, John made a desperate dash towards him.